I had always heard that most Arab men are extremely wealthy and pleasure seeking. Then, in this age of social media, I saw countless videos of Arab men dancing with women, seemingly abandoning their culture, their religion, choosing a completely different path. Yet I never believed Arab men possessed any special qualities. I used to wonder how they managed to take multiple wives. How could one man marry four women at once, keep them all happy and content, provide for them? Sure, one can pay for their upkeep with wealth, but to give each of them time and attention, that seemed impossible to me, especially since I live in Pakistan, where even a man's sole wife often feels neglected. It all felt so foreign until Jahangir entered my life. He was my husband's cousin. He'd spent many years working in Saudi Arabia, and now, on vacation, he'd returned, coming to stay with us because he had no other family here. Only my husband, Adnan, was his relative, and he'd always come to our home. Since this was his second visit after my marriage, I felt uneasy about living under the same roof with him for 2 whole months. As before, my husband tried to reassure me. "It's only 2 months," he said. "Jahangir has no one else except us. Where else would he go? We even have an extra room, so don't worry. He's a very honest, pious young man." Yet I knew why Adnan insisted on his stay. Jahangir arrived bearing expensive gifts, cash, and valuables, and on leaving, he handed much of it straight to Adnan. Greedy for his cousin's money, Adnan treated him with lavish hospitality and expected me to cater to him too, hanging on his every word. The last time he visited, he struck me as a young boy, younger than I. But now, at 26 or 27, he seemed older, more experienced, more vigorous. When I greeted him, I kept my voice low and had my maid carry his luggage to his room. Since I have no children, I'm often left alone at home. Adnan worked at a shoe shop. He'd leave at 11 in the morning and sometimes not return until 1 or 2 the next morning. That's why I didn't want Jahangir staying with us, but I had no choice. Our circumstances weren't good, and he was like a lottery ticket for us. His gaze held a strange intensity. Whenever he looked at me, it felt as though he could see right through me. His smile carried a persistent insistence that made me uncomfortable, so I tried to exchange as few words as possible. 2 days passed. Adnan even took leave to spend time with his cousin. But since Jahangir was here for 2 months, on the third day Adnan returned to work, instructing me to ensure Jahangir never lacked anything. Meals and drinks on time, plenty of coffee to keep him warm in the cold weather. I watched Adnan leave with anger, resenting the solitude I faced in our large, empty house. I had never been able to tolerate having anyone else under the same roof, let alone be turned into someone's unpaid maid. For the past 2 days, Adnan had managed everything himself, so I hadn't worried. But once he left for his shop at 11 in the morning, it was just Jahangir and me in the house. And an uneasy resentment began to build within me. I spent half the day deliberately hiding away in my room, but when lunchtime rolled around, I had no choice but to emerge. I was creeping toward the kitchen when I saw Jahangir already inside. I froze, then took my place quietly at the door. The kitchen was so small and I didn't want to be there with him. He turned, smiled, and greeted me. "Bobby, I thought you might still be asleep, so I decided to make lunch." On one stove, a pot of vegetable pulao was simmering. On the other, milk was coming to a boil. He was chopping more vegetables with practiced ease. Surprised, I asked, "What are you doing?" He replied cheerfully, "I'm cooking pulao and a sweet treat for you too. You were sleeping, so I went out and bought everything myself." Watching his nimble hands, I felt a flush of shame. "Jahangir, you didn't have to do this. I can handle cooking for myself. You should rest. After all, in Saudi you must work constantly." Yet pity washed over me when I remembered that he had no parents here and his sisters were married off. Adnan was his only family in Pakistan, which was why he kept coming back to our home. Until now, I had greeted him with such cold reserve. Realizing this, I stepped fully into the small kitchen. He waved it off. "No, Asma Bhabhi, please don't worry. I'm used to looking after myself, and I'd be bored alone here. Honestly, I'm thinking of marrying before I go back." His unexpected confession stunned me. I'd never imagined marriage was on his mind. I blurted, "You've come here to find a bride? Have someone in mind?" He moved a bit closer, appraising me from head to foot. "I do have someone in mind," he said softly. "If you'll help me, everything will be possible." Taken aback, I struggled to understand him. He smiled and said, "Let me finish setting the table. I'll call you when everything's ready." Then he returned to his work. I sat at the dining table in silence, my mind in a whirl. Who was he planning to marry? And why did he feel the need to win my favor? A few minutes later, he emerged with plates arranged before me. Bobby, you don't look happy, he observed, glancing at me. Doesn't Jahangir Bhai take care of you? His gentle concern sent tears welling to my eyes. What could I tell him? My husband had never managed to make me this comfortable. I longed for children, yet Adnan was incapable of giving me any. And still, I loved him with all my heart. I'd never once thought of leaving him, and my silence must have given Jahangir the wrong idea because he finally said, Bobby, I feel something isn't right between you and Adnan Bhai. I want you both to be happy together. I forced a smile and replied, Adnan and I are perfectly happy. You've misunderstood. He persisted. If that's so, why was Adnan pacing outside the bedroom all night? At first I thought maybe you two had quarreled, but then he seemed perfectly normal. Like this happens often. Don't you even share the same room at night? His overly personal questions set me on fire. I glared at him in anger. Jahangir, this is between me and Adnan. It's none of your business. Please stop meddling. Seeing my mood, Jahangir went silent for a moment, then apologized. I only asked because I want to see you happy. It just seems there's a gap between you two. I arrived 5 years ago, and back then you were childless, but happy together. Now it feels different. His words pained me. I looked at him and said, when a couple remains childless for 5 long years, their joy slowly drains away. Adnan can't give me the attention I need, and above all, I have no children. Whenever I ask him to spend time with me, he complains his health won't allow it. He works from 11 in the morning until 1 at night. After that, it's nearly impossible for him to be with me. I hadn't meant to confess so openly, but there was no one else I could share this with. No one in my life I trusted enough to reveal such private sorrow. Indeed, Adnan kept me at arm's length. The moment I drew near, he would excuse himself, too tired to stay. Just last night, he had done exactly that, and in my frustration, I'd blurted it all to Jahangir. Jahangir listened in silence, then said, You know, Arab men can have 4 wives, and often women live in their harems. The astonishing thing is, they somehow keep them all extremely happy, because their strength is entirely different. He gave a half smile. I stared at him. His words oddly rang true. A friend of mine in Saudi Arabia had told me much the same. Most Arab men there marry more than one woman, though I'd assumed it was for religious reasons. Now I wondered if a man simply needed extraordinary stamina to keep 4 wives satisfied. I looked at Jahangir in disbelief and finally asked, Do they really keep all 4 of their wives happy? He nodded. Yes, you know I've lived there 8 or 9 years, so I've seen it firsthand. In fact, I work in an Arab woman's household as a cook. It's my job to prepare their meals. I know many things about their culture that others don't. Did you know Arab men use a special remedy that lets them keep not just 4 but 40 wives happy? Here, men can't even satisfy 1 wife, he said, giving me a look that made me flush with shame, as if he'd caught me in a secret. I felt a pang of regret for having spoken so freely about my own marriage in front of him. If he repeated such things to Adnan, what would become of our relationship? So I folded my hands in apology. Jahangir, I spoke thoughtlessly. Please don't mention any of this to Adnan, I begged. He immediately grasped my hands and said, Bobby, I care for you deeply. You've always looked after me. You mean everything to me. Whenever I come to Pakistan, I stay at your home because here I feel at home. Why would I ever want to damage the bond between you and Adnan Bhai? But I worry about the distance between you two. Trust me, everything will be fine soon. Don't worry. I nodded, feeling reassured, and began to eat the delicious meal he had prepared. Each bite was so flavorful, I kept licking my fingers. Surprised, I said, I didn't know you cooked for Arab women. This food is incredible. He smiled and replied, My cooking is famous there. All the friends of the lady I work for come just to taste my dishes. And you know what? I even introduced them to Pakistani cuisine. He laughed and I smiled back. After the meal, I went to wash the dishes while he stepped out. In the evening, he returned carrying bags of groceries and household supplies. Embarrassed, I said, You didn't have to bring all this. You're our guest. If you need anything, just let me know. He sat down beside me and replied, I know your situation. Adnan Bai's shop doesn't earn enough for you to live comfortably. You needn't worry. I have no family here to spend money on. I brought gifts for my sisters back in Saudi Arabia and have already given them away. My brothers-in-law are very greedy, so I don't want to make them dependent on me. Or tomorrow they'll pester my sisters even more. His words made me wonder, harshly, if Adnan kept him around out of the same greed, but I dared not say so. Jahangir chatted with me for some time, and I realized he wasn't the villain I'd imagined. He was a caring, considerate man. Perhaps he too struggled with loneliness and isolation, just as I did. So I decided to befriend him. Yet sometimes, during our conversations, he'd make cryptic remarks I couldn't decipher. Then one night, when Adnan returned from the shop, and I tried to spend time with him, he snapped at me. I'm exhausted, let me rest. His words brought tears to my eyes, and through sobs I said, Adnan, why don't you understand? I need your attention and your closeness. I long for children. I want us to consult a good doctor so we can fill our arms. Hearing this, Adnan grabbed a glass from the side table and hurled it against the wall, shouting, Do you know I don't have money to chase after doctors? Doctors' fees, the cost of medications and tests, it's all beyond my means. First, you call me barren, and on top of that, you've made my life a torment. His words struck me like a dagger, and my heart felt as though it had been torn to pieces. I stared at him in disbelief. Adnan, who told you I was barren? We've never taken me to a reputable doctor, nor have I ever had any treatment. So why have you branded me barren? I'd spoken the truth that had burdened my heart for years. There could be nothing wrong with me, so the problem must lie with him. His behavior had reflected it perfectly. Furious, he stormed out of the room, and moments later I heard the front door slam behind him. I broke down in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. Before I knew it, Jahangir slipped into the room. He paused at the door, concern etched on his face. Bobby, are you all right? What was that terrible crash? And the door just now, did he really leave the house? He crossed the room, protecting his foot from broken glass, and sat beside me on the bed. Through my tears, I poured out my pain. Your brother calls me barren, yet I feel the problem lies with him. He refuses to see a doctor, refuses to be close to me. How long must I endure this loneliness? If only I had a sister to confide in, or any sibling, or even my parents. Alas, I am utterly alone in this world. I wish Mom and Dad had spent more time with me. They might have shared my pain instead of leaving me the lone child of this family. I laid my head on his shoulder and wept. Gently, he stroked my hair and hushed me. Then he said, Bobby, if you think Adnan has a problem, I can help you fix it. His words startled me. He continued, Perhaps he truly does have a weakness. I can treat him the same way Arab men maintain their strength. You know I cook for Arab families. I know exactly what they eat to stay strong. Tomorrow night, I'll prepare that dish for you to feed to Adnan. Keep this up for a day or two and you'll see the difference. Grateful yet embarrassed that he, a man unrelated by blood, would speak so frankly, I thanked him. He returned to his room. Adnan didn't come home before dawn. When he finally arrived, he sipped a single cup of tea and fell straight to sleep without a word of apology for last night's outburst. Despite believing it was solely his fault, I still couldn't bear his coldness. So at lunchtime I called him and, surprisingly, found myself apologizing to him. I'm sorry, Adnan, I whispered. I can't bear your anger. Tonight I'll prepare a very special dish for you. He brightened at the promise. He loved good food. That evening, Jahangir busied himself in the kitchen for hours. When he finally set the table, the aroma filled the entire house. He had prepared a small, exquisite dish and placed it before Adnan with pride. Adnan savored every bite, then retired to bed contented. Jahangir smiled across at me. "Just keep feeding him this for 2 or 3 more days," he said, "and you'll see all his fatigue and weakness vanish." I thanked him again, though I blushed at the thought of accepting such advice from him, but the heart teaches us to do what circumstances demand. I washed the dishes and tidied the kitchen, then returned to our room and found Adnan already awake, waiting. That evening, as I washed the last of the dishes and stepped back into our bedroom, I found Adnan sitting up in bed, a look of relief and gratitude on his face. "Where did you disappear to all this time, Asma?" he asked, his voice soft with exhaustion and apology. "I've been waiting for you. Tonight's meal was incredible. Come, sit beside me." When I climbed in next to him, he pulled me close, pressing a gentle kiss to my hands. "Thank you for this dinner," he whispered. "I'm sorry for how I've treated you. My fatigue sometimes erupts into anger, but I never meant to hurt you. I know I was wrong, and I promise you, Asma, that I'll do better." His words, so sincere and tender, brought tears to my eyes. It was the first time in many months that I truly believed he understood my pain. We held each other in the quiet dark, sharing a moment of forgiveness that felt as precious as redemption itself. Yet even as we drifted into contented sleep, I could not shake the sense that a larger miracle was at work. Thanks to Jahangir's guidance, Adnan's strength had returned in ways I scarcely dared to hope. The next morning, after Adnan left for the shop at 11, I sought out Jahangir to thank him properly. He was already at the kitchen counter reviewing his notes on spices and cooking times. With a warm grin, he opened the freezer and produced a vacuum-sealed package. "Here," he said, laying it before me. "Camel meat, the finest cut. I brought it from the souk. Tonight, I'll show you how to prepare our special strength-restoring dish." I watched as he crushed black peppercorns in a mortar, the aroma sharp and exhilarating. He added cumin, coriander seeds, and a hint of cinnamon to the pepper, then massaged the spice blend lovingly into the meat. A swirl of clarified butter hissed in the pan as he seared the pieces until they glowed with a rich caramelized crust. Then he covered them with a tight lid and lowered the heat for a slow, fragrant braise. "It must cook on low for hours," he explained. "That is when all the flavors marry together, and it becomes not only delicious, but twice as nourishing." I nodded, absorbing every detail. For days I had watched Adnan's posture straighten, his skin regain color, his smile return. And I knew that this simple culinary ritual was healing more than his body. It was mending our marriage. When I offered him the first spoonful that evening, he closed his eyes in delight. Each bite seemed to awaken him, the tension in his shoulders melted away, and he ate with a vigor I had not seen in years. After dinner, as he leaned back and stretched, a contented sigh escaped him. "Thank you," he said, taking my hand. "I don't know what you've changed, but I feel new again." I smiled, recalling Jahangir's promise. "It's a tradition from his land," I murmured. "It's meant to restore a man's vigor, just as a camel's meat and pepper give strength." Adnan chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Whatever it is, keep it coming." That night, I found Jahangir cleaning the kitchen. Emboldened by the transformation in my home, I approached him. "Thank you," I said, offering a simple embrace. "You've brought light back into our lives." He smiled, a secret glint in his eye. "No need for thanks, Bobby, but there is something else I'd like you to consider." I frowned, curious. Jahangir hesitated, then sighed. "You remember my cousin Rabia, do you not? When I first returned, I saw her at the family gathering. I admired her grace and kindness, and I've carried that admiration with me since. If you think it appropriate, I would like to ask you to arrange our marriage." I stared at him in surprise. Jahangir, so devoted to our household and so unassuming, now admitted that he wished to wed my cousin. For a moment, I felt startled. Hadn't I assumed his attentions were aimed only at helping Adnan and me? Yet as I looked into his earnest eyes, I realized that this man who had come alone to our door deserved companionship just as much as any other soul. "I would be honored," I said softly. Rabia is good and kind, and I know she will make you happy. A month later, with my help, Jahangir approached my uncle. The match was quickly approved, and in the span of 4 weeks, Jahangir and Rabia were married in a joyous ceremony surrounded by family. The house was draped in colorful fabrics, and the scent of jasmine wafted through the air as villagers and cousins alike danced beneath February's clear sky. During that same month, I had kept Adnan nourished with Jahangir's teaching. Each evening brought a renewed spark to his step and laughter to his lips. He began to share his days with me again, recounting small triumphs at the shop, offering to help with the children he hoped one day we would have together. Slowly, under the gentle alchemy of spices and affection, our dormant love blossomed once more. Shortly after Jahangir departed for Saudi Arabia with his new wife, I felt a flutter in my own body. A simple doctor's visit confirmed I was with child. I wept tears of wonder and joy. The very hope I had feared lost was now my greatest blessing. Adnan held me in his arms and said, "See how